If you are growing squash like zucchini, pumpkins, or any other plant in the squash family, then you may have squash bugs. But the problem is they're hard to find sometimes, and that's because they like to hide under leaves at the base of the plant, and they also lay their eggs under the leaf. So at first glance, you might think that you actually don't have any squash bugs, but that might not be the case. But before you run out to the garden to find out if you have squash bugs in your garden, know that there are some lookalikes with squash bugs. Some of them are bad, and some of them are actually amazing for your garden, and you would never want to kill them. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the lookalikes to squash bugs, but then we're going to go through what squash bugs are, how to control them, and how to prevent them in your garden. If you're new here, my name is Bree from Urban Gardening Canada, and I garden in Ottawa Zone 5. Welcome back to another garden insect video. I am doing a full series of different insects, including your friends and your foes. This video is one of your garden foes. So if you are trying to get more familiar with bugs and you want to know how to manage them, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications, because this whole summer we are going to be talking about different insects, including in a few weeks I will be talking about an insect that is new to Canada as of November of 2025, so it hasn't been here that long. So I am going to be taking you through insects that might not have even found your garden yet, but you'll want to know about them, so that way when the time comes, you're already prepared. All right, so before we talk about how to control and prevent squash bugs, let's talk about these lookalikes. I am going to put up some pictures on the screen here, and I want to know, can you tell the difference between these three bugs? Because it's important that you can tell the difference. Let me give you a second to look at these photos and then leave a comment below telling me, do they look the same? Can you identify them? And would you be able to, in a panic in your garden, be able to identify which of these bugs are which? One is a squash bug, one is a brown marmorated stink bug, and one is a spined soldier bug. Can you spot the difference? Can you see how close they look to each other? So if you can't tell the difference between them, don't worry, we're going to talk about them now, because you really do want to make sure that you are not killing any of the good bugs in your garden. Let's start with the brown marmorated stink bug, because this one is actually a foe in the garden. It is an invasive species that came to the US in 1998 out of Asia, and this bug will eat a lot of different foods, from your tomatoes, your soybeans, cherries, apricots. It eats quite a wide range of plants, so you do want to make sure that if you find this one in your garden, that you pick it off and squish it or stick it into soapy water. All right, so here is the biggest issue, is that both the brown marmorated stink bug and the squash bug both look very similar to our native shield bugs. So we have a lot of different native shield bugs here in Canada and the US, including the spined soldier beetle, which is what I'm showing you here. This one is the opposite of the squash bug and opposite of the stink bug, where it is actually of economic importance, and that's because it eats over 90 species of insects, including corn earworm and Colorado potato beetles, and these are some major agricultural pests, so they're actually incredibly important to the garden. Now, these bugs also will climb up on leaves. They don't just stay on the soil. So it is important for you to be able to identify the difference between the three of them before you go and kill any of them. Now, the squash bug at least is a little bit easier to identify because its body is more elongated than the other two are. So it makes it a little bit easier. Plus, if you are surrounded by squash like this, and it's mainly squash growing around you and you see a bunch of them, it's a pretty good indicator that they are squash bugs. However, we are going to talk about them in here, and I'm going to show you enough videos for you to be able to get a better identification of where they like to hide, what they look like, so that way you know that you are killing the right bugs. All right, so as their name suggests, squash bugs like to go after plants in the squash family. So this can include zucchinis, pumpkins, melons. I'm growing delicata squash at my allotment where you find a lot of them, and I'm growing some other Indian squashes, and they are all over all of them. Although they're difficult to see at first, a really good indicator that you have squash bugs is if your leaves are yellowing or dying, because they are eating on the leaves and taking that energy from them. So if you do grow a lot of squash, and especially if you are seeing yellowing leaves, this is a good indicator for you. But always when it comes to gardening, one of the best things you could do preventatively is to always be checking on your leaves to see if there's eggs being laid on them. So even if you don't see yellowing, just flip a couple of the leaves over and look for eggs, which we'll talk about a little bit further on. So squash beetles are mainly out in June and July laying their eggs, and one female adult can lay up to 250 eggs in her lifetime. So this is something that you really want to get on top of, because as soon as the 250 eggs hatch, then you've got a way larger problem on your hands. And there's not just one squash bug that's going to be out there. You are going to find a lot of them if you do end up having them as a problem in your garden. So you definitely want to be on top of it. They like to hide at the base of plants under garden debris. So you want to make sure that your garden is fairly clean. And another option is to make sure that you have space underneath your leaves so you can see a little bit better. But this is a great way for you to come out and start even identifying if you have any of them in your garden. At home here, I don't have any squash bugs, but at the allotment, I have a ton of them. And that's because the allotment is a microcosm. It's this space where there is a ton of people gardening, and not everybody's maintaining their gardens, which means that there's going to be debris left over winter. There's going to be people not killing bugs while they're out. So I am just in this environment where it's like a farm. So it's pretty well guaranteed that I'm going to get bugs. But here at home, I happily don't ever get them. I don't grow a lot of squash beyond a couple zucchinis, but otherwise I'm glad to say that I don't have them here. So it's not a guarantee that you're going to have them, but if you do have them, they are something you definitely want to control, because although they mainly will yellow your leaves, they can lead to the death of your plant. So this is just something that you want to make sure you're dealing with now. So in terms of prevention, the first thing that you can do is, because they live in garden debris, you're going to want to clean all of that up. Clean up all of your squash debris in the fall time. Get rid of it away from your garden, whether it's in the compost or with your city's green bin program, whatever it is, you'll want to remove all of that and take it off of your soil over the winter time. And then in the summertime, don't allow it to pile up. Don't cut the leaves and leave them laying around. Cut and prune your plants properly so there's good airflow. It's better for your plants anyways. And then it'll allow you to make sure that you can see if there are any squash bugs laying around. The next option is to rotate your plants, because the squash bugs will have a little bit of a harder time finding your plants if you don't plant them in the same spot year after year. So if I plant my squash here this year, then maybe next year I'll plant them on the other side of the garden, just to help slow down or prevent them from finding my next plants. But again, in a smaller backyard garden, crop rotation is only so effective because we just don't have a ton of space. Now, the last thing that I like to do is keep my plants under insect netting. So this is the same when I'm talking about the squash vine borer, which I'll be talking about in 2 days' time from now, is that you want to put it under insect netting. And the problem is that squash needs to be pollinated by bees because they have male and female flowers. So you have a couple options. The first is what I did this year is I put mine under insect netting while the plant was gaining roots. First in the springtime of June, I was letting it get bigger, letting it grow its vines, whatever it was. And a lot of times these plants put out male flowers first before they ever put out female flowers. So even if the flowers are open, if you only see male flowers anyways, you don't have to worry about taking the netting off of them. You can let them continue to grow. And then once the female flowers start to open, you have two choices. The first is you can take the insect netting off and then start dealing with the squash bugs if you want the bees to pollinate your plants. Or the second option is to leave the insect netting on your plants and then hand pollinate. If you're like me, I have literally one zucchini plant here. So I could leave this covered in insect netting and just hand pollinate, which I did this morning anyways with this flower. And you can leave it under and you won't have to worry about squash bugs at all. And you're also not going to have to worry about other bugs that you'll see in other videos in this series. The other option is when you do pull off the insect netting, at least if you don't pull the netting off until, say, early July, you've missed 1 out of the 2 months of squash bug timelines of June and July. So you're going to have to work less hard on having to manage these pests, and you're only going to have to do it for a single month. Or you can actually just leave the insect netting on all the way until August and then take the hit and not get any production until August if you really, really don't want to manage your pests. Or say you're going out of town and you're not going to be back for a little while, throw everything under insect netting. And yeah, you might not get food, but at least you won't have to deal with an infestation when you get back. It's just a really good idea to help try and slow down any of the egg laying or the nymphs that are going to hatch. All right, let's talk about how you can control squash bugs. For us, the easiest thing that we ever do is just hand pick the adults off and then check for eggs and clean them off. This is always going to be your best option. And the more frequently you do it, the less likely that the eggs are going to hatch. Really, what you want to do in terms of control is avoid the eggs from hatching. You're not going to be able to stop the adults from coming. You're not going to be able to stop them from laying eggs unless you're pulling off adults constantly during the day. But the easiest thing you can do, because the eggs need time in order to hatch, is to maintain that timeline and keep the nymphs from ever showing up. So to do that with the adult bugs, you're really just going to hand pick them off of your plants. They, again, like I said, they like to hide, so you can spray water at the base of your plants to see them all coming out, and then you can capture them. Look underneath. We have some trellising at the allotment, and they like to hide under the base of the trellising, so we just have to look down to find them hiding there to pick them off. Anywhere where they can really get a good hiding spot is where you're going to want to check. In terms of the eggs, you want to flip over your leaves and start looking for eggs there, and you're going to want to wipe them off. What makes it difficult is that these type of leaves have a lot of ridging in them, and so when the eggs are laid on the corner of one of these ridges, it's really, really difficult to get into here. So one of the best things that you can do is take a table knife and start wiping them off and scraping them off. If there are just a ton of eggs, you can remove the leaf as a whole. I've seen online people say to use painter's tape, and either my painter's tape had terrible quality or it didn't work. So this is something that you can try and do, where you take the tape and turn it inside out where it's sticky, and you can take the tape and start patting it on the eggs and pulling them off. But our painter's tape didn't do anything, so maybe you might want to try duct tape or packing tape, I'm not sure. But the painter's tape didn't work for us, but using some type of a butter knife or something to scrape them off is really helpful, and then you can squish the eggs. I've also heard that you can use a hand vacuum to vacuum them up. I have a Ryobi hand vacuum that the actual sucking part of it is maybe only this big, and you can really only feel the suction when your hand is pretty much near it. We tried to suction up both cucumber beetles and the squash bugs, and it didn't work for us. So if you are going to try the hand vacuum, you probably need a better one than the one that we have, and we didn't end up finding that one very helpful, but it is another option for you that you can attempt to try. I am trying all these different control methods, so that way when I teach them to you guys, I can tell you if they actually work or not, versus just reiterating what other people are saying. And so far for me, the painter's tape and the vacuum weren't exactly that helpful. However, using the butter knife is helpful, and then just hand picking all of the adults has been really useful. There is another suggestion that if you grow vertical, that maybe the squash bugs won't go as far up because they like to hide in the shade. However, with where my plants are growing on a trellis, there's still plenty of places for them to hide, even if it is growing vertical. So I wouldn't say that the idea of growing vertical is a solution and that you should only look at the base of your plants. They're really going to be anywhere along those plants, and especially if they need to lay their eggs on the bottom of a leaf, they're going to go wherever the leaves are. However, growing vertical can sometimes make it easier to look at your plant, to assess the whole thing and look for eggs and look for adults. So that's more of a benefit to me than the idea that it deters them. I did see on one of our Canada egg sites, they were talking about cucumber beetles actually, but during their research studies, they were planting nasturtiums to see how it would affect cucumber beetles. And I guess as a byproduct, they realized that planting nasturtiums near your squash actually distracts squash bugs on where they lay their eggs. It didn't really clarify if they laid their eggs on the nasturtiums instead, but it altered where they laid their eggs. So I do have nasturtiums and zucchini growing on this side of my garden together, but again, I don't have squash bugs here, so I can't really see. However, I am curious to know if it'll maybe keep the cucumber beetles away planting them together. But this might be something that you can do as a type of beneficial planting, where you put nasturtium and your squash and zucchini together to help distract the squash bugs and move them away from your plants. Of course, I'm going to put anything that I am citing below, so that egg website will be in the description below for you guys, so you can check it out there and read it for yourself. And you can also, of course, use cardboard where you wet it and roll it up and then put it at the base of your plants. This is going to catch earwigs and slugs as well. But then if all of the squash bugs like to hide in a cool, dark place, if you put them in the cardboard there's a good chance that you can pull out that cardboard and shake it off or kill any of these insects. I personally like to put them into soapy water versus Colin likes to squish them with his hands, which is not for me. So whatever way that you would rather do it, dump it into soapy water or squish them, it's really up to you. What we have found though is that squash bugs are pretty slow and dopey. So they're a little bit easier to catch in comparison to cucumber beetles. Cucumber beetles fly really fast and they're a lot more awkward in how they like to fly, versus squash bugs are kind of slow and don't really move. I think we've only ever had one fly away from us quickly while we were trying to capture it. So they're a lot easier to catch. So you just have to be slow and methodical looking for them, and you can find them and easily pick them and drop them into a bowl of soapy water. Finally, there is a parasitic wasp that is for the squash bug, and I'm going to read the name of it here. It is called the Trichopoda penips. And there's also an egg parasitoid Eumicrosoma spp. I do not speak Latin. I will type these down here below for you guys, along with the website that teaches about this specific tachnid fly and the parasitic eggs for you guys, because I have just learned about these ones. And so what they do is similar to the parasitic fly for the Japanese beetle, is they are going to lay eggs on the outside of the squash bug. The egg is going to hatch. They're going to eat their way into the squash bug and eat them from the inside out. Parasitic insects are super, super interesting. I love talking about them and knowing that they do exist. But the only problem with them is that they lay a really, really small egg onto the squash bugs. It could be on the top of them, it could be on their underside. So unless you are pulling a squash bug off your plant and really looking closely to assess if there's eggs on it, they're hard to see, so you wouldn't really know on whether you should kill the squash bug or allow it to die because of the tachnid fly egg that's on it. Versus with Japanese beetles, a lot of times they lay their egg right on the nape of their neck here. And of course, because that's how the Japanese beetle is sitting, you can see the egg on them, so you know to leave those Japanese beetles alone. With the squash bug, it's a little bit more difficult. So it is really interesting that there are parasitic flies for them. So if you miss a day or miss a couple days to go out and get your squash bugs, just hope that these flies are around your garden, and that way they can help maintain the populations for you. And if you're unfamiliar with the parasitic fly for Japanese beetles or want to learn more about Japanese beetles, I do have a video that's part of this insect series for you. So I'll link it here and it'll be in the playlist at the end of this video for you guys to watch. So this is another way that you can control the squash bugs, is through the help of these parasitic flies. But otherwise, that is everything for today's video. I hope you are enjoying this series and getting to learn more about all of these insects and how to manage them in your garden without using any chemicals or pesticides, because growing an organic garden that keeps the biodiversity around is really important in this day and age, as we are struggling with the collapse of our pollinators and our bird populations. And if you did enjoy today's video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and check out this playlist here that is full of all of the other insect videos that we are doing in this series. Bye.